So for this real-time project session, right, the prerequisites are basically, I mean, you have to have idea, right? You should know beforehand, right? You should know these topics, right? Core Java, first thing, and advanced Java concepts. If you are aware of advanced Java concepts, right? That's well and good. And JDBC. Anyway, we are not going to write much JDBC logic, but having JDBC idea also good here. And the fourth thing, SQL and ORM really not required, but having ORM idea will help you a lot in Spring Data. We'll be doing it in Spring Data JPA. Okay, Spring Data JPA and Spring Framework also. Spring and Spring Boot. End of the day, we are going to do project in Spring Boot microservices. Okay, Spring and Spring Boot knowledge also required, and we will do it in microservices. Lot of microservice concepts we will be using. And for the front end part, HTML. Basic HTML, CSS, JavaScript, jQuery sufficient. I'm not going to handle anything like Angular or React, but little bit if possible, right? One UI or one client functionality, we will try to implement it. And I hope everyone must aware this IDEs, right? Eclipse. If you don't know also, it is fine. Anyway, from scratch, we are going to write the code. So Eclipse or STS, knowledge sufficient. And remaining all tools. These topics should known before starting this session. And I'll give brush up for advanced Java JDBC. So free workshop will be conducted. So you guys can join there. I'll give that link very advanced in our group at least a week before. I will tell when this session is going to conduct. Okay. And SQL Hibernate, I'll take one workshop. Okay. Free workshops. You guys can join there. And if you don't know Spring framework, right, you can join my Spring batch. But the more focus is required on Spring and Spring Boot framework. Okay. If you are not aware, you can join a Spring course also. And basic HTML, CSS, you already must aware. And simple JavaScript and jQuery functions we will use. Okay, for front-end validations and Ajax calls. Okay, we will be using Ajax also. And as part of this session, I'll be covering and we will be covering JUnit framework, Mockito, right? And like Log4j in microservice applications, how we will implement logs. And we will discuss about Jira, how to create user stories and how to assign, how to update your progress. Okay, as part of Agile, we are going to discuss it. And Confluence, most of you well aware for the documentation. We will use Confluence and I'll cover Sonar, Lint for code quality checking. And one thing I'm missing here. What is that? Okay. Anyway, uh, this is what, right? For setters and getters, we will use this framework, right? Lombok. Okay, I'll teach Lombok also. Lombok. Already some recordings also available in YouTube. You can see Lombok framework also will be discussing so that you will get end-to-end knowledge for project management, right? Apart from the technology stack, few tools also we'll be learning, and we will be seeing some other additional functionalities, right? Mail APIs, security will be covered here. Okay, and some fast code tools also there to implement to speed up your application development. That tools also I'll show you. Automatic code generators, right? Auto code generators are there, so I'll be showing it. Yes. Apart from this, for project management, we'll be discussing project management tools like Agile, Waterfall. There are many, techniques that we have, that we will see: V-shape, prototype. What are all they? We will be seeing here. And for UML, using star UML, I'll show you how to design UMLs and entity diagrams. Yeah, for deployment part, after our coding, after we're done with our coding, for deployment part, I'll be taking my virtual machine. I'll take, which is Linux. In Linux, I'll show you the deployment using, like uh, FileZilla. You all must have it, right? If not, also fine. Using FileZilla, how to export our data to server, and uh, how to execute our commands manually. This is all manual process, because CI/CD setup I can't do here. So manually, how to execute your commands in Linux also will be seen. End of the session, right? For deployments, we will be seeing it. I can't promise beyond it, okay? Because if I commit for AWS or GCP, if we get some time, maybe after these sessions also, I'll conduct a workshop, and I'll show you the deployments in cloud. Okay, this will be covered. This also will be covered, and tentatively AWS deployment also I'll show. AWS, and using GoDaddy, how to configure your domain, how to map your UI to your domain. So if you guys interested to buy, I'll show you how to buy a domain in GoDaddy, and how to deploy your code. Simple static applications, or plain, basic CRUD applications, or simple admin and user applications, if you want to do by integrating with Git pages, uh, Git pages with your Linux integration, right? I'll be showing. Okay, this I can show you. This I can show you as part of session itself. Okay, so the integration between front end and back end with your domain, how to link with your Git pages, and how to integrate backend calls to your Linux code. Okay, this will be covered. Any doubts so far? Okay. So on the fly, many topics I'm going to add, but as a content wise, I just want to show these topics to you. And the project name, like we thought of taking e-commerce project, right? So for now, let us go ahead with e-commerce. So yeah, we will collect requirements for basic e-commerce application. We will start to implement something like our Amazon or Flipkart application, right? A small scale application we will build with users like admin user, okay, simple end user, or you can say customer, and something moderators via code, or you can have manager also, who can able to manage sellers, Okay, so these users we can cover as part of I mean users in the sense roles. We can see each role requirement, why that role is for, and how that role helps in our application. Okay, end of the day, customer will interact with our application and he can place orders. So the dummy payment gateway also I'll include. Okay, um, the Paytm's payment gateway. Even I can register for my company. You need to pass your GST number and your PAN so that they'll provide payment gateway. If at all that is not possible, at least test API they will provide. So we'll use that test API. And here I may cover, right, tentatively Azure or any other AWS blob storage also we will discuss. Maybe if I get free source from Azure or AWS, we will use that blob storages also to keep our application graphics, images, product information we need to manage, right? So that product information related videos or files, we can store it into the blob so that they will provide CDNs for quick access. Instead of storing it in our physical memory, we can use blob storages for it. So yeah, as we promised, right, 45 plus sessions we will take. Okay, and videos also will be shared with you via portal. That portal already, Spring portal is ready. And for our project also, one more portal I'll design and make it available. By that time, we will reach, right? Next week, by end of the next week, by 25th, that will be also ready. Meantime, these demo videos, yesterday's and today's and tomorrow sessions will be available in our Durgasoft YouTube channel. And I'll be giving complete repo access to you and Google Document, Google Drive, whatever is required for code access and documents access, that all access will be given to you. And for practice purpose, you can reach out to my team. They will be available. Code and books. Whatever references I have, I'll share. Okay, nothing going to hide here. Hmm. Is it good so far? Anything you wanted to add or okay? So let's jump into the basic first session. Okay. Um, you all must aware of it. Okay. So what I'm going to discuss, which is MVC. First, we will start with this architectural pattern. Okay. Model view controller. The architecture pattern. Yeah, excuse me if there are any spelling errors, right? You can correct me. So we will start with MVC. Okay. You all must aware of it. Okay. Let me go through it because on a regular daily basis sessions, right? We will be seeing this MVC diagram via MVC only. I'll explain which part in which area we are covering, whether it is view part or model part or controller part. Okay, so that you can able to remember the session easily, what we are discussing and how that session is useful to handle your code. Okay. So as per MVC architecture pattern, right, we will be having three layers: presentation layer, controller, and model. And the one more thing is database. We will use a separate software to keep our information permanently. Database also we will use. So If I start with view layer, right? View, we will design views all front end access, right? Which is accessible for users, whether it is your admin user or your seller who put items to sell, right, in online, the seller or the manager who take care of sellers and who take care of prices and validations, and end of the day customer, he can directly go to the portal and he can register whoever he is, right? He will interact with your application via presentation part only, views, right? So for end user purpose or for end user sake, we need to have a beautiful UI UX. Good user experience is always helps to improve, right, business. So if user experience is good, people will much I mean they show interest on your application. If you remember Paytm, right? Paytm became more success because of their UX in initial days. For doing recharges, we used to use free charge and bank applications those days, and we used to log in, we used to put mobile number, lot of things it used to do a simple recharge. Nowadays it becomes simple, but when Paytm came, right, they used to ask mobile number and instantly they will show all the plans. When you click on that plan, automatically it used to recharge in a single click. That's how good user experience they're given, right? So having good user experience will give more attention of your users. So that good user experience, and right, to get more attraction, we need to have a good user experience views here. So how you can design that views? First, initially we need to plan mocks, right? So we'll plan mocks UI, mock UIs. So for that also we will be covering one tool. There are many tools actually. Last time I installed one tool, mock. Mm, Let me see the tool name where I can see all my programs. Control panel. Balsamic something, I remember, that we installed and used. Mm, Star UML is there already. So we will be using this for, you know, and putty also there. We can access our Linux machine. Okay. Mm, for installations and all, we will use this. In Linux, we need to install Java and MySQL, all the softwares, right? Via putty, we can access Linux and we can do installations. Visual Studio also we have for front end design, and Balsamic we have for designing wireframes. Initial, what we can call initial wireframes or paintings we will be designing here. So using that paintings, we can actually start actually UI implementation. And we have MySQL database. I hope we have MongoDB. So during Hibernate examples, I'll be showing you, how to connect with SQL database and NoSQL databases. But in practically in project, we are not going to use any Mongo. But if you need one or two examples, we can cover. Oracle also we have. We can use. We will be using MySQL only for production. Okay. Yeah, all the software set is available. If you need, I'll give that list. Yeah, you guys can download and install. I'll give you that installation links. And for MQ, right, Rabbit MQ also we have. Um, for local I have, but I'm not sure in Linux I can able to achieve it. Um, Git we have, and eDraw also actually we can use instead of Balsamic. We will see which one need to picked up. And Node.js we have. If you at all want to do Angular, right, we can use Node.js also. Yeah, And Java kit also, we have Java 9 I have, I hope Java 8, Java 17, all versions I have. Okay. Yep. So this front end UIs we will be, initially mockups will design by using eDraw or Balsamic. And using that, mocks, what we can do, we can design actual UI by using Bootstrap framework, right? It will give, flexible access to mobile UI and tab, and you can access in desktop anywhere. Automatically, it will stretch your UI based on your device. So we'll be using Bootstrap template for our screen designing, and we will do modifications on that. So little bit HTML modifications we do, CSS modifications, the script modifications, jQuery also we will integrate there for the front end. Once done with the front end, we need to move to back end part. Okay, once we're done with the front end, we move to back end. So this complete back end will be there in your server. Front end we will be deploying, right? This front end we will be deploying in Git pages. Okay, Git pages, which is open source. You can use it for free of cost. Git pages. We'll be using Git pages. In Git pages, you can deploy your front end code. Okay, so we'll be using Git pages as a server, front end server, front end server, front end server, and complete backend will fall here, right? Controller to controller onwards to model database, everything will be resides in your Linux. So environment, we are going to use Linux here. So in this Linux, we'll be installing Java software. Okay, Java runtime environment and database, MySQL. Okay. And apart from these, if you are using MQs and other softwares also, we need to install them. So whatever runtime environment you require, right? You need to install all that softwares into your runtime environment also to run your applications, right? For production purpose. Finally, when you want to run for production, we'll be installing all the softwares into Linux and we will deploy our code. Which code we deploy from controller onwards? Your security, gateways code, everything will fall here. Right? We will be having one gateway application. Gateway, which will do, all the authentication and authorizations. Gateway, and we'll apply security also as part of it. So this gateway application will guide the request. If it is admin, for admin purpose, if you have one separate microservice, for seller, if you have one separate microservice, for manager, if you have one separate microservice, and for customer, if you have a separate microservice, right? All these services will access to admin portal, will access to gateway only, seller via presentation only. Maybe you will have 4 presentation UIs or one single presentation UI also enough. Basically, one should be sufficient. We'll think about UI, right? Either we need to design 4 UIs or one UI, that we will decide. So every request will come here. Once it get the request, it will decide whether it need to go to admin module controllers, right? We will implement controller part here. Controllers. So here again, you will have admin related controllers code, admin controllers or seller controllers or manager or your customer controllers. All your controllers will be part of your controller layer. And vertically, we will break it, okay? So we'll break vertically, okay? So that we will deploy it as a separate service, okay? Here admin as a separate UI we can deploy, seller as a separate UI you can deploy, and manager UI separately you can deploy with complete security access. Why we will discuss later. Okay, why we need to divide them, that we will discuss later. Okay, in simple words, to divert the traffic instead of you know asking in Hyderabad traffic, as I know, right? They did lot of diversions now here. So now traffic it is little bit smoother here in Gachibowli. Earlier we all go to single junction. From there we used to divert to 4 5 separate roads. Now completely they diverted. So flow will be easy now. So the similar way, your application also, right? To manage the traffic flow, we will be dividing them into separate applications as a separate microservices we can deploy and we can manage them so that they don't see any delays in their request. So similar way here, controller also separate admin controllers completely. I mean, this is how we'll break it. Okay. I'll put this line later. So we'll be having controller and we will be having a separate service layer for all add-on services we require, right? To send mail notifications and to log your, what's happening in your application. Carefully, we need to log it. So one log service separately you might require. Mm, yeah, anything apart from it if required, right? I see one simple SMS provider. If possible, we'll try to use it, but I'm not sure. Okay, if that is working, I'll use. So separate mail services we can deploy, logging service and SMS services. And coming to again your business logic, business code, right? You will be having business code. So again, admin business classes will be having in a separate application, and seller, manager business code, and customer business code. Vertically, we'll break it. Okay, and view. Okay, view. Am I audible between any, any discrepancy? You guys facing? No. No, no, right? Yeah, great. So same way, repository also for admin, we will be having separate repository classes. Uh, Not only classes, separate application itself we will be designing. Seller, manager, customer. And for them, entities also, admin related entities, right? Database entities also will be having here. So admin entities also will be having separate layer entities. Entities. So admin entities, seller entities, manager, and customer. We'll maintain them separately. And database schema, it's up to you. Okay, database schema, single, as we are going to use single server only, right? You can use one single schema or else 4 schemas also. You can have 4 separate schemas or one single schema. I would be recommending you to use single schema here. I'm not going to very in depth about the schemas confusion. So we'll be having one single schema, database schema. So we'll be creating something, our application name. Maybe we will name it something. Okay, that name we will decide later. Okay, maybe something RBU cart something, or any better name we will put. Okay, that schema we will create in database. Within that schema, all tables will be available. All list of tables. Tables of your admin module, seller module, manager, customer, everything. We will be keeping them into one single schema. So while deploying, right, instead of deploying this as a single jar file or a var file, Mostly we'll be converting it as a jar file and we will deploy in this Linux machine, right? How many jars we will deploy? This admin code, right? This admin code has a separate module. Seller code has a separate module. I mean, separate application altogether, separate microservice and manager and customer. So we will vertically break it into 4 applications. 4 modules will be deployed into 4 separate ports. Admin may be in consider, for example, your gateway application will be there in one port. Consider if you want to take it 8080. In 8080 gateway will run. Admin you can run it in 8081. It's up to you. Manager maybe in different port number, and a seller in a different port number in a single IP only. Single IP means single machine only, and a customer application also in a 8084. So that every front end request will come to the gateway. Gateway will decide where it should go. Every request will forward to this gateway application port. If you want to hide ports also, we'll create subdomains. Okay, to hide, to mask it, right? Generally, to access from the front end, we need to provide this gateway IP and port number. Instead of it, we can mask it also. Okay, domain, subdomain masking we can do. So domain name we will give, subdomain names. We'll purchase one domain and we will map with the subdomain name so that nobody will see your backend port numbers and IP addresses. If they want to find it, they can easily find it, but at least to make comfortable to the users, instead of showing numbers, right? They will scare customers. If you show IP addresses and port numbers, they will think something is happening in the applications. So to hide them, we will create separate subdomain URLs, and we can mask them so that user will access the gateway subdomain, and from that gateway subdomain we will redirect it to other subdomains based on the user. So finally we'll deploy this many applications. Jars, all are jars. As a jars we will be deploying it. Jar is sufficient, right, in Spring Boot, because it will come up with inbuilt Tomcat. That is sufficient for our application. If you have choice of where, maybe you need to install Tomcat also in your Linux and you can deploy it in Tomcat. Anything works. If it is a jar, directly you can run on your jar. If it is a var, you need again Tomcat software. How many Tomcats? 4 need. 4 or 5? 5. Yeah, jar based deployment is sufficient for us. Yeah, this is the plan. This is the plan. What finally we are going to implement using MVC architecture. This is how the flow will go. Are we clear so far? Guys, you need to open up. Let's make it a interactive session. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. So this is the plan. Okay. Yeah, that's why I wanted to start with MVC so that you will get some comfort here. Okay, what we are going to do going forward. In a single picture, you got everything here, right? Yeah, this is what we are going to do. This is from technology point, but to make this as an application, lot of discussions will happen between let's say as a company, if you all people belongs to RBU, right? If we all 27 members, including me 28 or 27, if we all as part of this team, right, as a team, ideally this much big team is not good. Maybe we need to break them into 3 teams, so maybe 9 for each team. So how to break that team and how gathering and discussions we will be doing here. Okay, so one business person will be selecting from our team only. I mean, each individual or everyone can play this role. So you can pass your requirement, you can guide, or you can tell this is what I need as part of this application. I'm expecting this requirement as part of this application. So business personals, will be interacting with our BA. So we'll identify BA from our team, and BA will be collecting it. I mean, we will play all these roles, okay? But you need to imagine somebody acting as a BA, somebody acting as a TL, somebody acting as a manager, somebody acting as a developer, somebody acting as a reviewer. That's how we will feel the real time implementation. Otherwise, if I am doing coding and if I'm explaining everything, it will be like a mono, like I'm doing everything. Okay, so we'll be collecting requirements and all the documentation will be taken place here between business and BA. And once the documentation is done, and we'll get the sign off. Why the sign off also will be discussing. Okay, more interesting things we'll be discussing. Once get the sign off, then we will convert into functional requirements, or he himself create the BRDs, right? So once getting sign off BRD documentation, and we'll be creating functional requirement diagrams and functional requirement documentation. Then we will pass it to our team, and team collectively, or one of good architect can give the initial architecture, how this application need to be break it down. That architecture part will be taken place, right? And all the collaboration, or all discussions or the documentations will be starting from here, right? So this all documentations will maintain in one repository. Company will have lot of projects. So right, if they start journey today, that their journey may continue for hundreds of years. So where they need to maintain their documents and all belongs to each project, or for all the projects, all their quotations, documentations, everything they will maintain in a document repositories like Confluence, so that will be available for long run. Confluence will provide good searching feature also. So all the documentation we can put here. They will give trial account. So I'll take that trial, that is sufficient. So we'll be putting everything here, and we can give it as a public access. And during this documentation, right, we'll be using a lot of UML tools for designing everything. And then once everything is ready, we will see which project modeling we should use. So there we will discuss which is suitable for the current trend, right? Mostly everybody following Agile. Why this Agile really, everyone following, how it fits and how it benefits the business and as well as vendors, that we will discuss. Okay. Yeah. So project models we'll discuss here, and then we will pick one project model, and we will follow that for our development, testing, reviewing, and user acceptancing, and productions. Here our journey will end. Okay.